Hey, what's up, my friends? John Hiley here with Tactical Dent, Tactical Dent TX, and also the Tactical Dent Tech Facebook group, bringing you a tutorial today with I believe this is about a 12-inch crease. So first off, we're going to remove the taillight, and then we're going to remove the plastic retainers inside of the taillight pocket, because as you can see, this is going to give us a giant access point, actually two giant access points. You can do this as long as you got a hole straightener, and you might have to put a little touch up in it at the end or something like that, but it makes for a perfect place to slide in a rod. So first rod I'm going to stick in there is going to be this Anson Tequila pick, and you can see here that I'm actually scrolling around here trying to find the tip of my tool, and I quickly realize that this thing is just filled with, not filled with, but it's got a layer of sound deadening on the inside of the panel. And if any of you guys who know that old school original Dodge, that's inside of these quarter panels, I forgot, but now I am quickly reminded that this stuff is rock solid, very hard to push on. Now you can push through it eventually, but it's one of them deals where the tool kind of digs into it, and then after so many pushes, it will make its way through the sound deadening, and finally you'll get your push. So this is me attempting to get in on this crease, and you can see it's definitely allowing me to move the metal a little bit on the lower half. But you got to be careful with these, because this is one of them deals where a really sharp tool will go through, and then next thing you know, you'll have a poke mark before you know it. And so this is me switching the game plan and going in and saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and glue pull on this bad boy. I'm going to try to get the majority of it up as much possible, and then go in and pick out any little spot that may need to be picked out. And so every dent, you go in with an original game plan, and then if for some reason that plan changes, you've got to be able to pivot and pivot quick and make that decision. And you guys will see, because I'm actually repairing this in real time. I do believe that this dent, it didn't take me long, guys. It did not take me long. Now, there has been a few cuts and edits and things like that just to minimize any kind of downtime. So I believe that I probably worked on this dent for a full hour, and so not too bad. And you can see here that I'm going in, and I'm actually using these crease tabs. And this crease tab is the Robo tab. This is the indestructible tab. You guys see me using the yellow ones all the time. Drew's Tools carries the Robo tabs. You can buy them individually, which I kind of like that, or you can also buy the set. But I find the set has some odd shape ones that I never use. Maybe somebody uses them. Maybe somebody thinks they're the best, but there's some odd shapes, like some half, like some cut down $50, things like that, that I just never use, So that being said, I'm going to start off with these, and this is more of a pinpoint precision tab. I love the way that it can get in there. It can really pull a tight little crease into the center. But as we get to the thicker part of this dent, I'm going to go ahead and use an Atlas Titan crease tab. And this is the rock solid block. It's like the Lego of glue tabs. Like, literally looks like you're putting a Lego down. And even if you look at the bottom side of it, the way that these tabs were created almost looks like Legos. And as many of you know, I absolutely love the Atlas oval football tabs, but this is just not the situation for that. So I'm going to continue to use crease tabs throughout this repair. I believe that I am anyway. This was last week that I did this repair, and I distinctly remember only using crease tabs. The glue that I'm using right now is actually the root beer glue. So I'm peeling off the root beer glue there. I have been changing glues left and right. I've just been in this mood to test glues. And so I've been using rainbow glue. I've been rainbow glue. Hey, Don't be captioning this one spot, man. I do not use rainbow glue, but I do I do use this root beer glue. I meant to say root beer. You guys heard nothing else but root beer, okay? So there we go. All right, back at it. You know, if I didn't have one of these moments on every single video, I wouldn't know what to do. So there you go. There's my moment. All right, so now I'm dropping back on this Atlas Titan. And I love these. I use the slide hammer with them for the majority. In fact, I can't really remember when I don't use the slide hammer with them. But I love this strong snap of this slide. Bam, you just see that thing just snapping right on out of that root beer glue. Not rainbow glue, but root beer glue. And then peeling it off with 99% alcohol. You know, one of the cool things now, guys, it used to be so hard, and I know some of you older techs, old school techs that are watching this, you remember this. It used to be so hard for us to find 99% isopropyl alcohol, and now you can order it off Amazon. It's readily available, and in fact, I got a gallon of the stuff sitting inside of my shelf, in my Milwaukee shelf over there at the shop, and I just pour it out. I'm very generous with it. You don't have to supplement it with denatured alcohol, any of that kind of stuff. You can just buy the 99% right off of Amazon, get a gallon of it. So there's a little tech tip for you as we're moving through this repair today. And just so you guys know, it may be a little windy. I am literally editing this and doing this standing outside in a parking lot. I was going to try to do it while I was driving. Number one, that seems dangerous. Two, for some reason, it wouldn't allow me to do it because it just was, the audio wasn't coming through. Somehow the audio would not come through into CapCut while I'm driving, and Bluetooth was on. So I had to park, waiting for an appointment right now. Had to park, get out of my truck, make sure my truck wasn't turned on, and I'm standing out here on this beautiful Texas day, taking these glue pulls with you and doing the narration over this this content here. So now y'all know how much I care about you. We'll go back to the training. Okay, here we go. Dropping a crease tab back in there. I just love these Robo small little tiny crease tabs. I mean, they are about, about an inch. I just love them because they pull tight, little nice tight high spots. And it's really what you want, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take this crease, I'm trying to flip it upside down, inside out. And so that way I can control with my knockdown. I want to be able to control this with my knockdown. And you see this one, sometimes I switch. I mean, it depends what I'm in the mood for. If I think, the mini lifter is going to pull better, I go with the mini lifter. If I think the slide hammer, I need that slide hammer snap, I'll go into it with the slide hammer. And so a lot of this stuff is, I kind of think of paintless dent removal like jiu-jitsu. I don't know any of you guys who've ever done jiu-jitsu, but I used to do that years ago. A buddy of mine was a pro fighter, and he lived right behind me, and we would go over there, and he actually had mats in his house. We would train jiu-jitsu. We would go down to the YMCA, train jiu-jitsu. And one of the things that we would always talk about is that you're always thinking like 2 or 3 moves ahead, right? And so I think PDR is the same way. You're always thinking many moves ahead. And you're also thinking, if I do this and the dent does this, then I'm going to do that. And so that's why paintless dent repair, it's so situational. I mean, everybody's looking for a straightforward answer to how to do it, but the answer is not straightforward, because every piece of metal is different. Every single panel is different. Every single dent, individual dent, is different. I mean, you get some that are, similar to each other, but this is a totally different animal in the middle of the hood running through braces. This is a totally different animal, this crease. If it's on a different make and model, if it's on an aluminum Ford truck, it's a totally different animal. And so everything is very situational. And that's why, I know the whole old cliche, everybody, it's an art. Everybody's got it on their website, things like that. And yes, we do want people to know that it's an art, because it is not mechanical. It is very situational. You always got to be willing to just change your game plan and move with the dent. So right now, this is a rare moment for me. I rarely knock down while I pull, but I was just thinking, hey, what the hey? This glue's taking a little while. This root beer glue is taking a little while to cure up. Why not do my knockdown work while I'm waiting? I'm just trying to get that prime time pull as well. Prime time pull. That's right. Because it's got to be the prime time. You're looking for that elasticity in the glue where it's not too wet, but it's not too over-cured or it's not too solid, right? There's this, right in the middle where it's elastic, almost like rubber. And it just hooks up and pulls very well. Because if it sits too long, it'll just get brittle and crack off. And if it doesn't sit long enough, you won't get a pull. It just won't stick. Now, occasionally, we do something called wet pulls. And a wet pull is just when you see, let's just say you got a very sensitive panel and you barely need to move this thing to get it out. And you don't want to go in and take a big pull. Maybe the pulls are just cranking big old high spots out of there, giving you a ton of knockdown work. So instead, you go in and do a wet pull. You pull it while it's still a little bit wet, and but not too wet because it's still got to pull the panel, but enough to where it just won't fully hook up, and you will get a tiny little high that gives you a tiny little high to knock down and to actually work with during the knockdown procedure. Now, speaking about the knockdowns, many of you guys know I used to use the yellow rubber hammer. If you guys have been following me for a long time, the old days, you knew that my yellow rubber hammer, well, I have completely replaced it for this Dent Vision paddle, and also replaced all my knockdowns for the Dent Vision Zero Gravity Knockdown. I'll be honest with you guys, I can't explain to you, and this is, now I'm putting the tool in it now, guys, by the way. And so this is a long Zircus rod that I'm actually sticking in there. But the thing about the zero gravity knockdowns, I can't explain to you why I love them. Now, I understand the vibration thing, all that. To me, it doesn't feel much different than a regular knockdown. All I can say is that once I got one of them, I wanted more, and I just keep grabbing them. And they're almost the only thing that I'll look at and the only thing that I'll use. And I couldn't even really explain to you the massive difference. But I can just tell you that it feels right. So here we are doing a little bit of push work. Again, I'm pushing through that inner sound deadening, and it's crunchy. Like you guys probably heard it on one of my reels over on the, I dropped a reel here I dropped a reel on YouTube, I dropped a reel on Facebook, all the other platforms, Instagram, and you could hear a crunchiness while I was pushing. Well, that is the crunchiness of the actual double interior sound deadening that's inside of there. It's kind of crunchy, you know, and you probably can't hear it on this because I turned it way down, just because the knockdown work can be so distracting. I want you to hear what I have to say here. I just want a little bit of a subtle sound, just so you get that let's just call it 3D effect. A little subtle sound. And you can see now I'm just literally pushing all through this dent. And it's still tough. I mean, even though I pulled a majority of this crease out with the glue tabs, this is still hard pushing. What you find is your tool will go in and go through one spot, and then you've almost got to like scrape it or angle it down or up. It's not like easy scrolling around inside of here, because if you scroll like an inch, you got to go straight through the thing again. Now, I'm using the Zircus rods because it's very pointy, and you ain't pushing this dent out. First off, you ain't even getting this thing out if you took off the interior panel. And second, you are not pushing on this dent without something that's sharp that can actually get in through that double paneling. And so this is one of the reasons, as I tighten this up here later on in the training, I'll show you guys, I'm actually going to do a wet sand and a polish, which is probably the best thing I could do for it anyway. It's got scratches running through it. Now, some of them scratches are actually deep that you see off to the left-hand side of my light, and there's some on the right-hand side of the light, but it does definitely do them better. And it gets the scratch that's actually in the center of the damage pretty much out. Now, what you see on these Dodge vehicles is a lot of orange peel. Okay, so this is the Pee-wee. Also, this is the Dead on Dents Pee-wee peak tip that I'm using. Very precise, very on point, nice and sharp tip there. Love it, works incredible. So this is when you get down to the nitty gritty, and I don't believe that I use a metal tip on any of this, but if I was to get down even deeper into the nitty gritty, I would be using a metal tip. But on this, the Pee-wee's fine. It gets me exactly what I need. And so here we go, just pushing that little low, getting in there beautifully. And you guys see how much this cleaned up. You guys see how much the glue pulling just cleaned up. Do y'all do like a fast rewind where you just watch the progression of this thing? Because if you look at the reels that I made, I speeded up big time. The glue pulling just crushed most of this thing out, which is beautiful. I wasn't really sure how well the glue was going to move this metal with, this interior sound deadening that was inside of here. You see how I just pushed a little poke through there? That was because I'm sitting there pushing that sound deadening, and then all of a sudden, peek. See how right there, I'm right on top of it? It gets you. That's what you got to watch out for. You got to watch out for when you're pushing on that thing and it goes through. Now, good enough, I'm able to knock it down, right? And it's able to knock it right down. And then once we sand and buff it, it's going to sand and buff out if it has any kind of little pinching effect or anything like that. But, man, these repairs that, when I first looked at this, if this thing was wide open on the inside, this would have been very quick for me to tool out. I mean, I may have only had like 15, 20 minutes on it. Instead, I've got about an hour into it. And so here I am now wet sanding, which, again, it needed it anyhow because of the scratches around it. The client picked it up, and he was so impressed with this as well. And then here I go, going in with the Rupes polisher. And I'm using the Rupes heavy cutting pad, and I'm using Koschemi German compound that has a very high gloss. It's body shop safe. It's the best products I've ever switched to are these products. And so I do a 3-step, but on this video I think I just show you 2 of them. And really for this color a 2-step would have been fine because this is a very high gloss polish after doing the compound work. If you guys haven't used Koschemi, I'm just telling you, once you use it, you're just not going to go back. It's freaking amazing, their 3-step system. I mean, the first step, like, literally almost gets it. So there we go, buffing it all out. And guys, we're getting ready for the end product here. I know the reveal that you're waiting for. And a little bit of touch up after doing the buffing. You can see how beautifully brightened that finish is. I mean, it looks better than what it did before I did the wet sand and polish, which is just ideal. And you guys can see there's just a couple little lows that I'm going to go in, push up, knock down, do a little bit of blending work too. And little by little, I'm going to push. And then right here is the finished product. Came out very clean. And I appreciate you guys for coming along on this training today. I appreciate you. And as usual, I will see you on the next one.